All right, so let's get this show on the road. Of course, this is the first podcast for, I don't know what we're calling this yet, but you know, we'll
Should we
figure.
call this like podcast 1.1 or something? Because we already did a previous version before, previous trial anyway.
I guess, yeah, 1.1 sounds good to me. I guess right now, just trying to introduce folks to who we are and what we do. Um, I mean, obviously, people know me because they watch the YouTube channel, but I think there's a lot of misconceptions about who actually runs IDB and the history behind it because, I get emails and tweets all the time asking me, they think I'm like the person that's behind IDB, but I don't think as many people realize that Sebastian is the one who actually runs the site. He owns the site. He started it. So introduce yourself. What do you do? And how did you start off?
I'm Sebastian, the founder of iDownload Blog, previously known as iPhone Download Blog. I started the site in May 2008. It started as a little small project, really as a hobby, I would say. Um, I got into the iPhone. The iPhone was my first real smartphone. I got into jailbreaking very quickly, and I wanted to share my interest, and I would call it maybe my passion in jailbreaking. And at the time, there was no real resources for jailbreaking. Like you had one or two websites that would tell you how to do it, but that was it. So I thought that would be a good idea to do a site that would be entirely focused on jailbreaking. So I started the site like this, and I got caught into it really. At first I was like, okay, this is just a hobby, and the hobby got more and more time consuming. It took more time than my day job actually. And eventually, I think it was in November or December 2009. I think I quit. I think it was in 2009. I quit my full-time job to focus entirely on IDB. Then people like you and Cody and Alex came along, helped me out with the site, and a few other people came and went, and we are where we are today.
Awesome. So I didn't realize that you were actually working your full-time job. So, I mean, that wasn't that long ago.
No, I believe I quit in 2009, and I think I wrote a post about it long time ago on IDB. I really owe this to my wife, and she was my fiance at the time. She was working, and I was working, and I was kind of miserable in my day job. I had a good job, I was making decent money, and that's what I wanted to do really as a job. But I was not happy. I was not happy working for someone else, and I was making more and more money with IDB to the point where it was okay to leave my full-time job. Um, and I talked about it to my wife, and she said, "Yes, go ahead, quit your job if you don't like it, quit it, and do the blog thing. And if it doesn't work, I'll support you, and everything will be fine no matter what." So, thanks to my wife, I got the guts to quit the job and focus entirely on IDB, and I'm very very happy about that.
Yeah, that's a good story. So this was 2009. So 2010. When did things really start picking up for IDB as far as like you started earning money and
Yeah, I think it was in 2010. So in 2009, a little history about my life. In 2009, my wife and I, my fiance at the time and I, took about a year off to travel the world. And we left in November 2009. We went to Australia, New Zealand. And as we were in New Zealand, I think an actress called Alyssa Milano, that you probably know from Who's the Boss
yeah,
and
yeah,
Charmed,
yeah.
she started following me on Twitter, and she started retweeting me, and she started saying, "Hey, check out iDownload Blog. It's a great resource for iPhone news." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is awesome." So overnight, I got a major influx of traffic. Um, and so that's really like push the site overnight to a larger audience. To this date, I still think she really really helped me push the site, like over the edge.
Wow. So
Yes.
thank you,
That,
Alyssa Milano, for helping.
yeah, thank you, Alyssa Milano, definitely.
Alyssa Milano is the reason why I was able to quit my job. I never thought about that. So there's like 6 degrees of separation right there. Wow.
Exactly.
So I've never heard that story. Wow. It's amazing some of the things that come out on this podcast.
I have no proof of that, but I know a lot of people found out about the site and me, thanks to her. And so that was, I think, in January or February of 2000, probably in January of 2010. And the site started growing and growing from there. So I was still making, a little money from the site, but overnight I got much more traffic and I think much more recognition. And that made it a more profitable project.
Right. So basically, what we need to do, how BlackBerry they have, is it Alicia Keys? Is that?
Yeah.
And then we need to have Alyssa Milano as our marketing
Creative director,
Yeah,
or whatever
creative
the
director.
fake title is.
Right. Yeah. So Sebastian, what's your daily routine when it comes to work? We know that IDB is established now. A lot of people
Yeah.
know what it is, but what is your daily routine like when it comes to managing the day-to-day activities of the site?
You want me to walk you through a day in the life of Sebastian Page?
Yeah, I mean, just from a site perspective, what is involved? How much work do you have to put in? Is it stressful, or just give me a little insight on
Okay,
it?
well, yes, first it's very stressful because I rely entirely on something that might go away tomorrow, namely the iPhone or Apple. The Apple is great. Apple is great right now. Apple is doing good, but it doesn't mean that they will be doing good next year or in 2 years or in 5 years. So in this sense, it's very stressful because I don't have the safety of the job. It's also stressful because every month I have to write checks to people like you, like Cody, like Christian, and it's not stressful in the way that I have to write a check, but on top of having to take care of myself, I have to take care of you guys. So it's a little stressful in that way as well. Now, as for work, I do nowadays, I do more and more of the behind the scenes stuff. So that's why you don't see much from me on the site. I write a post every now and then, or a review, or I bitch about something, but it's much less than I used to because I just don't have the time. IDB is a fairly big business, and it means that there is a lot of business things to do, like paying the bills, accounting, and stuff like that, replying to emails. So it's a lot of work behind the scenes. I wish I could do more, up front, like on the front end of the site, but unfortunately, it seems that I can't these days.
So when you wake up, what's the first thing? I mean, what's the first thing you do related to the site? Do you check your email, your Twitter feed?
Yeah. The first thing I do, I wake up. My wife is already up. She is probably taking care of the baby, or maybe the baby is still sleeping if we're lucky. I grab my phone, I load my emails, I delete everything without reading everything I know that I'm not interested in. I delete right away, and then I go through the emails that I think are interesting, and I either delete, reply, or I archive, or I leave it in the inbox for to work on later. So that's the first thing I do, emailing. Then I launch Reader and I check the RSS feed for IDB and make sure everything's in there. I read Apple News and I try to distribute stories to either Cody or Ed or Christian on things that I think are interesting. I usually load up Cydia to see if there's anything good released overnight. And usually by that time, it's about time to get up. My daughter is on the bed with me, trying for me to read her a book or trying to play with my iPhone or something. So the day is officially started then.
So all this is happening. I'm thinking, okay, he's walking around or he's in the office, but you're still
No,
in bed at this.
I'm still in bed. This is and this is the good life. I'm replying to my emails. I'm in bed. This is all good, and I can hear my daughter running around, and then she comes in the room, and that's when the day really starts. That's the best part of the day, really. Um, and then, you know, so I take my daughter to daycare, which is right up the street. So we walk there, or we take our little bicycle or tricycle. And I come back, I listen to NPR News on the way back, and I get to my computer and I dig into Twitter, reply to my personal Twitter feed. I try to reply to as many questions or comments on the IDB Twitter feed. Go back to emails, and then I do a bunch of management tasks for the site, such as accounting and stuff like that.
Right. So are there any projects that you're working on, or things that you would like to happen for the site?
Yes. There is two things that I would like to happen for the site. Probably the most important one right now would be a site makeover, like a redesign. I'm actually looking for a WordPress designer who has experience working with adaptive themes, responsive themes, something that, like you go on your iPad, you load up the site, and you get it on your iPhone. It's the same site, formatted for your device. So that's what I'm looking for right now. And believe it or not, it's more complicated than it sounds. Like you think that you can just go to Google and type, WordPress designer, and you can surely do this, but I'm looking for like a top-notch kind of guy.
Not when this is your main means of making a living.
Exactly. There's plenty of things, like back in the days when it was just me, or like even like a year or two ago when you and Cody were already here. Sometimes I had to do things on the site, like add one thing to the theme. I would just do it myself. But now it's the same site, but there is like so much more involved that I can't afford to mess up something on the site. So we actually pay someone to take, to update the site. So if we want to say add a little Twitter button somewhere, I could do it myself. But just to make sure,
yeah,
I pay someone a lot of money to make it, to be sure that it's gonna work, and it works, And the girl, she's a woman. She probably does it better than I would do it, and more efficiently than I would do it.
And you can yell at her if it doesn't.
And I can yell at her. Well, I rarely yell at her because she's too valuable. Yeah, there's plenty of things that we could do ourselves, but we, because the site is so big and so important, and we have so many visitors that we can't afford to be down for just even 1 minute, really, So that's why we work with people that are the best at what they do.
Right. So what else are you working on, or what else do you have in mind besides a redesign?
I would like to get an app going for the site, and that's something we failed on doing last year. And
what would an app bring to the table? I mean, what do you think it would bring to the table that we like? You're talking about this responsive website that automatically formats. So why would you need an app if I mean, what would it bring to the table that we don't already have?
People really want an application. Like pretty much every day, I see a comment or maybe a tweet or an email asking about an IGB app. And there is still some people who've been like following us for over a year that said, hey, you remember you said there would be an IGB app by the end of 2012, we're in 2013. I'm like, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I know we failed. So I think an app would bring more flexibility to what we can do. Like if you do a responsive design for the site, and basically a web app, like you access the site through Safari or Chrome for iOS, whatever. There's a bunch of things you can't do. You can't, for example, like save an article in your favorites. If we had an application, we could just have a little section for my favorites. So you can favorite some posts and maybe read them later or something. We could have a tab for the YouTube channel that you take care of directly from the app, so that people wouldn't have to leave the site or leave the app to go see your videos. They would just have access to all the videos inside the app, which I think would be very valuable for users. Everything would be in there. if this podcast thing picks up, like we could have a section for the podcast where people could listen to the podcast directly from the application. So I think, that would definitely bring a lot of value to IDB readers to have everything just from one app, simply and clearly formatted, and easy access, quick access to the latest news that are on IDB.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I've been wanting an app for a while as well. That I've talked about that. And I think that would be good to maybe have something where it saves even to like Pocket or you're talking about just saving the favorites directly within the app.
Directly within the app, but obviously you could have like a send to Pocket, send to Instapaper. I think these would be like easy features to implement. But again, it's always the same problem. You have to find someone who has experience designing applications. And when I say design, I don't mean just design from a visual aspect. I also mean from the programming aspect. Building it. You have to find the right people for this. And again, there's tons of people who do this. I get emails every day from people, saying, I'll build you an application. But, I need someone who is very solid, established, who has previous experience and that can show us, previous work that they've done, successful work for other large online publications. And again, this is harder to find than you would think.
Right. There's a few out there, but yeah, that's obviously a delicate decision that would take some thought and planning.
Yep.
So what? Switching gears a little bit, what products are you interested in that have come about lately, or is there anything that you're in the process of reviewing, or is there any, peripherals or anything you've seen out there that catches your eye?
Not really. You know me. I'm not much of an app guy. I'm not much of a product guy. I like simple. I like basic. I like minimalist. Couple of products. And one I reviewed last week was the Glass T Slim. It's a glass screen protector for the iPhone, which I really, really, really like. I think it's one of the best. Right now, I'm actually holding my iPhone, and believe it or not, there is a case on my iPhone. I put a case on my iPhone.
Why did you do that?
A couple of weeks ago, I dropped my iPhone as I was walking in, and that's something I never do. I never drop my iPhone. I'm so careful. And I dropped it, and I made a little dent on the bezel, and I was so bummed, man. I was so bummed. And I was like, maybe I need a case. And I had seen a case from ID America on some guy's iPhone at Macworld, and I really liked it because it was very simple, very minimalist. It's like barely there. So I ordered it, and I'm actually in the process of reviewing it right now. I really like it. Besides the fact that it's a case, wow. I really like the case.
I have like a ton of dings, and I think it actually doesn't look too bad, but there's a lot of scratches around the little bezel. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but I'll deal with it. Cases, the only reason I want a case, like the only reason I would use a case is if it added additional functionality, like the book. Now I'm always leaving like my credit cards at home. I'm forgetting to bring my my license with me when I'm in the car. And I think if I get a case, it's going to be that because of that problem. I just can't remember to keep both with me at the same time.
The book is a beautiful case, but to me, again, this is a personal preference. It sounds like so impractical. How do you say impractical? Impractical.
He's not from here, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe you better tell everybody, where are you from, Sebastian? Because
I'm from France.
Okay.
I was born in France, raised in France. I moved to the US in 2003. And as of November 29 of last year, I am American.
Yes, you just got fully qualified.
Yeah, I'm a citizen. I can vote. I can do pretty much everything except run for office, which I didn't intend to do anyway. So,
okay. So back to this. What were you saying about? Why do you think it's impractical? The book.
Well, it's just too much. Like, okay, you receive a phone call, you're gonna open the book, and then like, what are you gonna do? Like, fold the front of the book on the back to hold the phone next to your face?
Oh, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
isn't. And the new one has a little hole in the back for the camera.
Okay. Yeah, I think I saw that when we
Yeah.
talked about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It really
But
isn't though.
you still have to flip the front cover in the back, right? If
Yeah.
you want to make a phone call.
Unless you just want to hold this big slab of leather up to
Yeah.
your face.
I
Yeah.
mean, again, it's all like preferences, personal preferences. That wouldn't work for me, but obviously that would work for you,
Yeah.
and that's what's great. Like there's a little bit of everything for everybody in this world.
Yeah. Do you carry a wallet?
Yes, I do have a wallet. It's a very, very simple wallet. It has a like magnet in the back, so you can put some bills in there. I never carry coins with me. I think coins are dirty and take a lot of space and are very heavy in your pockets. So as soon as I have change, I either put it in my daughter's piggy bank, or if I'm in the street, I'm gonna give it to some homeless or something. I just don't like coins at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the thing. I don't carry a wallet. I used to, but I don't know why I stopped. I just found it to be like carrying two things. Like I already have my phone with me, and then I have my wallet on top of that. I just felt it was too much.
Yeah, see if I was not wearing a wallet, like the book would sound like a nice alternative, despite what
Yeah.
I said before that it's impractical. But if I was not wearing a wallet, that would sound like a good option because yeah, you can put your credit card and everything in there for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, this podcast obviously is, I mean, new. We're still kind of feeling our way through it, just trying to get through yeah, I guess you could say the kinks. But what would you like to this podcast to accomplish? Like for the people listening right now, which I assume will be a few thousand people listening, what do you want to tell them?
What do I want to tell them? That's a good question, Jeff. I wish you would ask me before so I can prepare an answer.
Put you on the spot, man. No, we all about spontaneity here, so.
I would want to tell them. What would I want to tell them? That's a good question. Can I have 5 seconds? Um,
Five.
I don't know what would I want to tell them. I know what this podcast, what I would like to make out of this podcast. Make a good podcast about jailbreaking because I think right now there is no podcast that focuses on jailbreaking. I might be wrong, but as far as I know, there is none. So that would be something. One of the goals I have with this podcast. Like you mentioned yesterday, maybe get some jailbreak devs on the microphone sometimes to sit down with us and talk about whatever they're working on, what they worked on in the past. So basically, give a little more, shed a little more light on jailbreaking and the jailbreak community as a whole.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be awesome. And to my knowledge, yeah, I don't think there is another Jailbreak podcast. If there is, then I've never heard of it. So yeah, it'll be. Hopefully, if any devs are listening and you want to be on, then shoot me or Sebastian an email, and we'll be glad to have you on and talk about what you're working on and things of that nature. But I think there's going to be just tons of content to really discuss each week.
Yeah.
There's always new stuff hitting the Cydia store. What's your favorite jailbreak app right now? What's your favorite, I guess,
You know the answer.
I know the answer. What have you used lately that kind of impressed you? You may not be using it now, but what did you see? What have you seen lately that kind of caught your eye that was new? Some new idea.
What have I seen? I saw the Harlem Shake yesterday. That was new.
The Harlem Shake.
I did not install it. Not obviously, but I did not install it. I didn't want it on my phone, but I sat down through the video that you made, and I was like, this is actually pretty cool,
It was.
So completely useless, but so cool at the same time.
Yeah. I actually, and I'm obviously a little biased here, but I like the idea of the little type status jailbreak tweak that shows someone replying to you when on the iMessage. Like it'll show in the status bar a little message ellipsis icon to show when someone is replying to you on an iMessage. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I haven't installed it, to be honest. Something that I really like right now that has not been released. It's a tweak that Filippo Bigarella made just for me, and we called it Skip Lock. It's a tweak that skips the lock screen on your device.
Yeah.
So instead of, like pushing the home button to wake the device and slide to unlock to go to your home screen, you just push the home button or the sleep wake button, and you go straight to the home screen.
Great for coffee table iPad users.
Well, exactly exactly why I asked Filippo to make this. Like I don't use this on my iPhone. I just use it on my iPad Mini, which is always on the coffee table. And any given evening, I pick up the iPad Mini like 40 times. I pick it up, I put it down. I pick it up, I look something up, I put it down. And like as small as the slide to unlock is, it takes like a second. And it was so annoying to me. I was like, I really don't need this. And when I had my Nexus 7, there was an option to skip any lock screen,
Yeah.
So I was like, we need this on the iPad. I'm actually surprised this is not even a stock option, on the iPad. So I talked to Filippo and he said, oh yeah, I can do this. And I think 20 minutes later, he sent me a deb file saying, hey, try this on. And sure enough, it did the trick.
Awesome. So is he going to release that?
Supposedly, I talked to him last week. He said he would. So I don't know. He said he would. And he said he would like 3 weeks ago when he first made the tweak for me. But I think he's busy on other stuff right now. And so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So interesting thing you didn't mention. You said your iPad Mini is always on the table. So what are you using as is that what you use to work from or? I rarely work from my iPhone or from the iPad Mini. If I'm going to do some actual work, I need a laptop or I need to sit down on my iMac. So if I want to edit a post, for example, on IDB, if you've published a post and I see there's a typo or something, I'm going to grab the iPhone or the iPad Mini and fix it. But I would never sit down and write a full post on my iPad Mini. It's just not convenient enough for me. I know it's working out good for you, but for me, it just doesn't do it. I wouldn't say it's working out good, but I'm getting there. It's a slow process. Actually, I have the Logitech ultra thin keyboard Mini for the iPad Mini.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's a really nice device. So I'm in the process of reviewing that now, and that helps out. Obviously, having a keyboard.
Yeah.
To type with, but
I still can't. I could if I had to, but why would I do something in 15 minutes if I can do it in 5?
Right. The main reason that I like the iPad this is a whole nother, episode really, I won't get into it too deeply, but when you think about the battery life, and I know I'm not really a big battery life person, but think about the battery life for a second for an iPad and how easy it is to charge that anywhere. For instance, if you're in a car, you of course have your cigarette lighter adapter, plug that up to your iPad Mini. I can, screen share directly into my server at home and work like I'm right there in front of my desktop. The advantage of that is that you have the battery life and the portability of the iPad Mini it's always on, it's ready to go, but you have also the full desktop experience along with that. I just think the battery considerations are really awesome when it comes to that. Like you have this laptop that's always pretty much never is going to die, and it's always ready to go.
I hear you. Yeah, and maybe one day I change my mind and realize that but like the lack of like true multitasking and on the iPad makes it so hard for me to do any kind of work.
Right.
Like I need to switch between windows very quickly. Like I need to do like a command tab and switch between stuff.
Right.
I don't want to have to swipe my 4 fingers to go to the next window and stuff like that. It's just too much.
Right, and that's the thing. Like with what I have set up, I have full access to all those commands.
Yeah,
so I can command tab. I can switch windows quickly. Because it's basically like I'm sitting in front of a small MacBook Pro, basically.
Yeah. Well, I can quite what you I know you've been setting this up for a while, and I know you're still like learning on the learning curve. But
I think that's a
let's see
good
what you come up
subject.
with.
Yeah, I think it's a good subject just for its own podcast eventually.
Yeah, true.
Like working from your iPad, the podcast. I think that could be like a 30-minute thing every week. But who knows? Just throwing it out there. I know we're running out of time, so do you have any parting shots you want to send out to the listeners? Of course, this is the first podcast. I hope you guys continue to listen each week and tune in and spread the word. But we plan on doing
send us
this.
some feedback. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. If there's something you want us to talk about, if there's something you don't want us to talk about, shoot us an email or send us a tweet or something, and we'll make sure to act upon what you say.
Yeah, and the next one will be a little different. I mean, this was more of an introductory, introducing Sebastian to you guys and letting you know who you're speaking or who you're listening to, I guess you could say. So, thanks for listening in.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sebastian, for
of course
being on the show. And I guess that's it.
What
do you got planned for today?
I'm going to be doing some work right now. I've been slacking for the last hour, so I need to get some work done. And it's very sunny here in San Diego, so I might go for a surf session.
Oh, goodness. I'm out of here. See ya, man.
See ya.
Later.